Okay, in this lesson, we're going to learn about string methods. But what is a string method? What is a method exactly? Well, we're going to learn about that. Specifically, we're going to learn how these methods allow you to change the string's case, how to trim trailing and leading white space, how to find the location of a substring that's in there. We learned previously how to check if something was inside of there, but if we know that it's inside of there, how do we determine where inside of that substring it is? And then finally, we learn how to replace substrings within a string, all using these mysterious string methods. Okay, for this lesson, we're going to create another one, which is I'm going to call string methods.py. Again, if dunder name, it's your favorite thing now, is equal to dunder main. Start with that. So what exactly is a string method? Well, strings and pretty much actually everything inside of Python is something that's called an object. And we'll get into the details of what an object is in the object-oriented programming module of this course. But essentially, an object is something that is able to have these special functions or special kind of helpers called methods. And they also have these things called properties that's in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a string and we're going to do jar jar is equal to jar jar beaks. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to share something that normally I share in the object-oriented programming, but I'm going to do this just to kind of give you an idea of what the methods and properties are. I'm going to print out its dir, jar jar, like this. Now what dir is it's going to print out all of the object properties and methods that it has available to it. So let's do this. String methods like this. And you can see here's a whole list of different things. Anything that has these dunders in front of it, we're just going to ignore for right now. But we have something called capitalize, casefold, center. We've got a count. We can encode it. We can check to see if it's an alphanumeric string or if it's as a decimal that's in there, or maybe it's numeric that's in there. We can do some replacing. We're going to learn that here in just a few minutes. We can learn about what join is, or if it starts with something. We can do a title type changes to that. So these are all methods that the string has that enables us to do some specific things. One of those things that we can do is jar jar dot lower. So the way that you call a method is using the dot notations. So you're going to take the object, the variable name, then do dot or a period, and then that property or method. If it's a method, you're going to end it with an open close parentheses, unless it requires some input that's in there. But everything I'm going to show you today is only going to be an open close inside of that. Or if it's a property, then you don't need to do the open close that's in there. So let's see what this does. Python string methods. And we see that jar jar beings now changed from capitalized to lowercase. So let's print jar jar first, like this. We can see that. Now remember, strings are immutable. Does that mean, though, that after making that change, that method to it, now that we've applied a method, does that mean that it changed? Let's find out. Nope. So strings are still immutable even when you apply methods to them. So that's one of the interesting things is when you are working with immutable types and you do methods against it, that method shouldn't make changes to the original object or that original variable. It should only output the change that it would have made, but shouldn't actually change the actual object itself that's in there. But we can kind of do something a little bit different. Let's do jar.upper and see what that does. Jar Binks, that's in there. Now, one of the things and the reason why I like to teach about .lower and .upper is when you're doing and searching through strings. So for example, let's say we've got a test string that's equal to, this is a really long string, probably from a really long file, and represents a line like this. So if you're searching something inside of that string, it's probably most likely, if you're working, well, let me back up here. If you're dealing with a file and dealing with a lot of strings, you may not know whether or not that string has a uppercase or a lowercase value, or is using the uppercase or lowercase ASCII or Unicode value to it. And those have differing numbers according to them. And so what that means is you need to potentially account for that. So one way to do that is you can do this. Let's say we want to check to see if really is in there. So really in test string and or really in test string, or maybe it's something like this. Maybe it's got a weird spelling, EAALI like this in test string like this, or, and well, you start to get how this is getting kind of annoying. Well, what we could do instead is just do really in test string dot lower. And we can see, yeah, this is true. This matches right here, and this is true. So, and what's interesting, because the lower method doesn't alter this string, we didn't make any changes to this string. It's still the same, but we've still been able to do a case-insensitive search inside of that string. So that's why I like to share with you, first thing is this lower and upper, because maybe you have an all uppercase type search string that you want to look for inside of there, and you don't really care about case sensitivity of the string that you're working with. Well, maybe you need to just convert it all into upper and doing like that. The next thing that I want to share with you with the methods is this. So let's comment this out and look at this. So I'm going to do Anakin, let's see, Vader's cry, and that's going to be equal to some spaces, and then no, with another little space in there, no, we got to make sure we do some exclamation points here too, and then like that. Okay, so what's interesting about this string is we've got a whole bunch of white space inside of here. So what we could do is we can get rid of that white space. So let's print Vader's cry dot strip. So what strip does is it actually strips away all of the leading and trailing white space. So this guy and this guy, but it doesn't get rid of any white space in between. So you can see I've got a white space here. In fact, let me throw in a couple of other white spaces inside of here. Let's go ahead and print this out. And we can see, you know what, let me do a little bit something special here. Oops. To show you what exactly this is doing. So we're going to print the original and then print down the stripped down version. So here's the original, and then here is the stripped version in here. And you can see that something got messed up. Nope. No, yes, it did. So what messed up here? So Vader's cry is equal to this. Oh, I know exactly what went wrong. We need to do this instead, because there is no now white space in front and behind, because we added these characters right here. So this is actually a great test. What's happening here is you can see that a character was placed here. So there's nothing to strip there because there's something going on there. So what we really need to do is print this. To show you what the differences are here. And boom, now you can see, here's the original right here. And now here's the stripped down version. But what if you only wanted to strip the left side and keep the right side going? Well, you can do that by doing lstrip. And what if you only wanted to do the right side? Well, rstrip is what you would do. And ta-da. There you can see that. All right. So next up, what I want to teach you is how to find a substring. Now, you do that by doing this. Let's take a statement. So who talks is equal to who talks first. Oops, there we go. You talk first. I talk first. So what we can do is we can do talk location is equal to who talks dot find, and then the substring we want to find. So here's what we've done. Here's the string that we're working with, the string variable, and we do the dot find in there. And then when we pass something in there for that dot find, so this is a method, we pass in the string that we want to find in there. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to print the talk location like this. I'm going to get rid of Vader's cry. Not get rid of him, but at least just comment him out. And then do Python strings methods, and we can see 4. Well, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 means that that's the starting index of what that would be. So if I did this instead, print who talks, and then do who talks dot find, and do talk like this, and then I can do Actually, you know what? We're going to do this. Talk location like this, and then talk location plus the length of talk minus 1. Now, let's see if this works, and then allow me to explain what's going on here. I got that wrong. There we go. So what happened here is I found that talk location. And then what I did is I want to extract that out. And so what I can do is take that talk. I can slice the string who talks with the starting location of this guy right here and the ending location being the same location where I found it, where he starts, plus the length of the string that I'm trying to find. And there we go. We see talk. Now that's not very interesting because we knew talk was in there, but you might be interested in doing something like this. Say, I want everything after that talk string, that substring that I found. So you can see here, first you talk first, I talk first. So after this first talk right here, we've captured everything else after that. So that might be something that you're interested in. But we've got an interesting situation here. We actually see that talk is found 3 times inside here. So how would we do that? What if we wanted to find the second instance and not the first one? Well, we did the find, and we found that talk location is 4, right? So what if we do now talk location is equal to who talks dot find, and we're going to do talk and then a comma and then enter the talk location plus 1 or 5. Now we're going to print talk location like this. We're going to clear this out and we're going to run Python string methods. And now we can see the next location. So the previous one was 4. And now the next location over here is 20. Let's do that one more time. And there we go. Let's run this one more time. And boom. Now we've found all of the locations of that. Now, this is pretty tedious. And when we get into the looping section, you'll think immediately, ding, 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 I could put this into a loop. And think about that. So when you come back and you look at this and you review the videos and you've learned about for loops and while loops, think about what type of loop would be the best to run in this type of situation. Some food for thought for later on. Finally, let's talk about how to replace a string that's inside of there. I'm going to comment this out. We're going to do something else. So Sith Lords is equal to Sidious and Dooku. Now we're going to do something else. If you'll remember in Star Wars, well, in episode 3, there was a bit of a problem. Sith Lords dot replace, because Dooku kind of lost his head and was no longer able to cut it for the Sith Lords. So we kind of need to replace Dooku with somebody else. Well, he was replaced by the ever infamous Darth Vader. So we have Darth Sidious and Darth Dooku, and then all of a sudden, Dooku is replaced by Vader. So that's what we do, is we're going to take this string, which is this variable, Sith Lords, and we're going to use the dot replace. Now, when we do the dot replace, it doesn't actually change it in there. So I'm going to reassign itself to this new string. So remember, everything over here is going to happen first, and then your assignment will happen at the very end. That's in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace this. Let's print our Sith Lords and see what this looks like. We've got Sidious and now Vader that's in there. So the dot replace is going to be the one that you want to do. In fact, actually, the dot replace can be chained together. Let's kind of look at that a little bit. So troubled Anakin is equal to not just the men, but the women and children too. If you're not familiar with this scene, well, I'm not going to have to explain this too much, other than this was a moment when Anakin fell to the dark side and gave in to his fear and anger and ended up hurting quite a few people. Well, let's see what happens when troubled Anakin comes across the men in there. So we're going to remove them. We're essentially just going to take them and make them go away, because that's technically what Anakin did. So let's see what happens here. I'm going to comment this out. Python string methods, not just the blank, but the whoa and the wait a minute. Well, so when you use replace, it's going to replace all instances of that substring that it finds with the second substring that you have in there. And so you need to be kind of careful of that. So we're going to change this to women. And then now we can chain this even more. We can do another dot replace and do men and have them as well. So now let's do this one more time. Not just the blank, but the blank and children too. Well, you can't leave the children out because technically they weren't definitely orphans. And here we go. Let's run this more time. And I've got a missaved file. Boom. There we go. Not just the men, but the women and children too. But now it's only not just the blank, but the blank and the blank too. Dang. Man, that was dark. Erased from history. They've been Thanos'd. Well, so there you have it. These are just a few of the string methods that are out there. There's tons more. I really encourage you to kind of explore that and do that dir that you have in there. Let's pull this up here. IPython, create just a sample string. And then do dir sample string here, like this. And look at all these different methods and stuff like that. Play around with them, see what they do, and learn about what exactly they're there for. In the next lesson, we're going to learn about how to format our strings into a specific structure and way that we want to present them in there. So head on over to the next video to learn about formatting strings.